Okay, today we're going to go through the setup and operation of an L9100 column. This is an air column, and we're going to do it today with an air spindle. Looks like this. First step is to program. To do the programming, we push and hold the program button for a couple of seconds until program appears. Push it again, we'll have setup. And again, and we have an A- on there. A-, A+ are the direction of the column, whether it reads from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom. With an air spindle, it should be A-. If it's an air ring that's checking a pin gauge, it should be A+. Push it again, it goes to metric. We have options here of metric, degrees, or inches. The most common setting on this is metric. You can change it by using the up and down arrow buttons. We're going to leave it at metric. Range. This particular column right now is set at 100 microns. You can change the setting on the column by pushing the up and down. You can go anywhere from 20 microns to 2000, which is roughly 2 millimeters. The thing to remember here is do not set this to the spread of your masters or the spread of your part. If you have 100 microns from min to max, you can't set the column at 100 microns because you won't have any over travel on the column and you'll never be able to see that the part is out of tolerance. If you have 100 micron spread, you should set this to probably to 200 microns. That way you're using half the column and you have overspread on it. This particular case we have 26 micron spread. I'm going to leave it at 100 microns. I could go down to 50 microns and then have overspread, but I try and give it enough overspread to be able to see out of tolerance parts. So like I said, in this particular case I'm going to set it at 100 microns for a 25 micron spread. That'll get more clear as I go along. Next thing is the nominal. In this particular part, the part nominal is what we're programming now. So the part nominal for this one is 15.963. So the 0 is fine. I'm hitting the program button. The 1 is fine. I'm going to use the up arrow button to change this to 15. And hit the program. 9, 6, 3, and the 0 is fine. So that's our part nominal. Next is our max master. On the newer version of the column, the master size will show up as an LED display. If you have an older version, it will not show up on here and you need to actually count lights on the column. In this particular case we have 26 microns. I set it for 100 microns. There are 100 lights on the column. From top to bottom there are 100 lights, so each light will represent 1 micron. So I would have to count up and down plus or minus 13 microns. This particular one we have an LED display and my max master is 15.976, which is right there. Use the down arrow button and if you look I have 13 lights. My min master, same thing. This is 950. Now your master size does not have to be the same as your part size. 950, which is 13 lights down. And that's it for the setup. Now if I use the down arrow button, we get the manual. 0 bar. 0 bar, when the air is shut off, the column should read somewhere near the center of the column, within a few lights. And you can adjust this by using the up and down arrow buttons. If it is not, you might get an error when you try to auto master. Next is the gain. 174 is around nominal. If your gain gets up over 200 or down below 120, you will get an error. So initially we set this to somewhere around 170. 174 is fine. And that's it for manual. Next is mode. In the mode we have an auxiliary gain, and that will go from 2 times to 4 times to 8 times to 12 and back to 1. I'm going to set this at 4 times, which 4 to 8 is usually what we need. We'll determine that once we get a little further along if we need to change that. Next are the limits. The limits are your spec limits, and we can set them to the high limit. What this will do is will trigger where your output, if you have an output on the column that's triggering a relay or anything else, this will trigger. And again, you have to count lights. Where do you want that to trigger? And this particular case, we set it at 10. 10, that's something you'll have to determine. Approach limits, same thing. And output, We have several different types of outputs. There are 3 different types of outputs, and in output type 1 there are 3 different options. That is explained in the manual. It's the same thing. It's for a relay output. Next is the display. This is critical. This is where you're going to set your part display. Color. The first one is where you want your first color to be. Now we know we're doing plus or minus 13 lights, so counting from the bottom up to the center is 0, minus 13 is 37. And if you look at 13 lights down from 0. Second color will be 13 up, so 13, again, 50 is the center of the column. 13 plus 50 plus 13 is 63. Third, you have yellow markers on here. If I push the up button, you'll see them come in. Those are the caution zone. You can set them wherever you want. Most people set them at around 70% of tolerance. And the upper one, set it where you need it. Oops, I went back in there. Okay. Next is markers. There are 3 markers on here. There's 1, 2, 3. I usually set the center marker at 0 so you know it's nominal. If your master size is not the same as your part size, okay, put this first one at 0. The second one, if your master size is not the same as your part size, you can use that to identify a master set point. If you don't want to use them, you can go all the way to the bottom and take them right out of the column. And you can see now the top marker is moving. I'm going to leave it there for now. Exit, and we're going to exit. So now we've done the initial programming. The next thing to do is to manually set the column up. For this I'm going to turn the arrow. There's 2 knobs on the front. One is a spread, one is a 0. Before I start, I close these right off. Don't force them, just turn them in until you feel them stop. And then turn them out 5 complete turns. This should get you somewhere in the area. Now if you check your min and your max master, my min is not reading, my max is not reading, so I'm going to use a 0 and lower the column. Bring it down to my lower set point. And now check my max. I don't have enough spread. I should be higher on this. To increase the spread, always turn the spread knob in. It may go down, it may go up, it doesn't matter. Turning it in increases the gain. So I'm going to turn this in 1 complete turn. And now I'm going to put my min back on and reset my 0, and I can't because I ran out of adjustment. So that tells me that my auxiliary gain needs to be increased. So I'm going to go back into the program. Enter. I'm going to come down to mode. Auxiliary gain is at 4, so I'm going to increase it to 8. Okay. Now I'm going to go up until I see exit and exit. Just skip the column reading. Okay. Min master. I'll set this to the min set point. Check the max. Now I'm overspread, so I need to turn this knob out. I'll turn it out about a half a turn. Put my min back on. And I'm resetting to 0 now, not the spread. Check my max, still overspread. You can see I'm overspread. Bring it down. Min back on and reset my 0. Check the max again. Still a little bit too much. What I'm doing is I'm adjusting the spread on the max and the 0 on the min. It's less confusing that way. I'm still a little overspread, but I'm close. So when you get close, the auto mastering should take over. So now you push the auto master. This is min master, which I have on here. Enter. Max master. Enter. And now I'm master. If you run out of zero spread, or if you run out of adjustment, if it gives you an error here, go back into the program, shut the error off, check your zero bar, make sure it's at the center of the column, and check your gain and make sure it's at 176. Once you do that, and we'll do this right now, we're going to go to manual, shut the error off, and our zero bar is way out. So I'm adjusting the zero bar so it's back to center. Enter. Gain is at 117. It's way too low. It should be at about 170. Okay. And now we're going to go up until we find exit. Turn the error back on. And now we're going to go through the process again, manually set the column, overspread, so I'm going to turn the spread out, put the min master back on and readjust my zero, still a little overspread, I turn the spread knob out, readjust my zero on the min master, and we're close, we're within 2 lights, so now we can auto master. Min master, enter, max master, and we're calibrating. That's it. The thing to remember when you're setting the column up is to make sure that your range fits on the column. Like I said, if you have a range of 80 microns, don't set it to 100 because you'll have just a couple of lights top and bottom and you'll never see when it goes out of range. If you have 80 microns, set it to 200. If you have, as we do, 26, I set it to 100. If I set it to 50, then my range would have been double. It would have been up here somewhere, and we would have had very little over travel. So I have to consider that. Another thing to consider is if your master spread is different than your part spread, make sure everything fits on the column. If my master was 50 microns difference than what I have here, I would have had to go to a 200 micron spread because the master would have been off the column. These are all things to keep in mind when you're programming them. Right now it's ready to go.